On a scorching afternoon, the Texas sun hung heavy in the sky, painting the small town in shades of gold and heat. George Strait drove with the windows down, the familiar country melody playing softly on the radio, a comfort amidst the weight of his own thoughts. But today the music felt like a distant echo, overshadowed by an emptiness he couldn't shake. As he cruised down a dusty road, his gaze caught a young woman sitting on the sidewalk, her back against a weathered wooden post. Clara Martinez. He recognized her from local news. She held a tiny baby wrapped in a tattered blanket, tears glistening in her tired eyes. The first thought that crossed his mind was a pang of empathy, a deep connection that tugged at his heartstrings. George's heart raced as he slowed his truck, a wave of uncertainty washing over him. Should he stop and help or keep driving, escaping the reality he'd left behind? In that moment, his fame felt like a burden, threatening to overshadow his compassion. He had always instinctively lent a hand, but this was different. This felt intimate and raw. Summoning courage, he stepped out of the truck, the heat enveloping him like a heavy blanket. Kneeling beside her, he glanced around, making sure there were no cameras capturing this moment, no flashes to distort the authenticity he sought to offer. "Hey there," he said softly, looking into her weary eyes. "Are you all right? Can I help you with anything?" Clara's gaze was a mix of suspicion and disbelief. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice a hesitant whisper. "I just want to see how I can help," George replied, earnestness coloring his words. "How about I fill your gas tank or get you something to eat?" Her eyes narrowed as she clutched her baby closer, the defiance rising within her. "I don't need charity," she shot back, a blend of anger and pain bubbling beneath her surface. George's heart ached. He understood. She wanted to stand on her own, yet here she was, vulnerable and exposed. "It's not charity. I just want to help. Please let me do this for you," he said, feeling a connection blossoming despite the shadows around them. Clara's breath caught, uncertainty flickering in her gaze as she considered his offer. "Why would you help someone like me?" "Because, even for a moment, you matter," he replied, sincerity spilling from his heart. A moment passed, thick with possibility. As George reached into his wallet, he felt the weight of expectations, both his own and hers. He handed her a few bills and she hesitated, glancing at the money, then back at him, uncertainty battling with desperate hope. George sensed the shift in the air as Clara's walls began to soften, but he didn't linger. With a nod, he turned back toward his truck, a bittersweet feeling settling in his chest. As he climbed inside and glanced back one last time, he saw her contemplating. A delicate figure framed by the fading light, a connection palpable yet fragile. And with that moment etched in his mind, he drove away, wondering how this encounter would ripple through their lives, intertwining their paths in ways both profound and unsuspected. The week after their encounter weighed heavily on George's mind. The memory of Clara, teary-eyed and clutching her baby, lingered with a haunting tenderness, pushing him into reflections he had long kept at bay. That afternoon, driving through his hometown, he couldn't escape the parallels to his own past, where the simplicity of life felt more palpable, and fame hadn't yet wrapped its fingers around his heart. Back in the early days, George remembered performing in small venues, dirt floors and rickety stages, sharing songs that came straight from the soul. His childhood home, filled with laughter and old country tunes, was where his love for music was planted and nurtured. He saw his mother singing softly as she prepared dinner, and how his father would join in, their harmonies echoing through the warm kitchen. Those moments surged back, sweet and painful, grounded in love and connection, untouched by the complications of success. As Clara's struggles gnawed at him, George thought of how he had once faced loneliness too. Back then, he would stand in front of a small crowd, pouring out his heart with each chord, feeling the pulse of human connection as vibrant as the Texas sunsets he knew by heart. But those days felt distant, the essence of his music now dulled by the fame that often eclipsed the real reasons he played. Across town, Clara was battling her own demons. The bills piled up relentlessly, and every day was a test of tenacity. She recalled the nights when she sang lullabies to her baby, soft and sweet, wishing desperately for a better future. Each note she sang had been an echo of her dreams, a dream she had always held close, a desire to be more than just a mother caught in the cycle of survival. Once she had aspirations of being on stage herself. Clara could picture it vividly, bright lights, the excitement of performing, and the thrill of sharing her voice with the world. But life had different plans. Love had faded, leaving her tangled in the responsibilities of single parenthood. As she breastfed her baby girl in the early hours of the morning, Clara thought back to her sister Maria. They had spent countless nights talking about their hopes and dreams. Maria had always been Clara's anchor, her confidant, offering support when the weight of the world became too much to bear. However, Maria had her own insecurities, her own fears about the future. "Are you ever going to get back on stage?" Maria would ask, her voice tinged with encouragement. One evening, Clara had shrugged it off, a smile hiding her pain. Maybe someday, just not right now. But deep down, Clara felt the embers of her passion fading. If only she could reignite that fire, reclaim a piece of herself that felt lost. And that was the crux of her existence. How to find the balance between motherhood and her dreams while fighting the demons of self-doubt. George and Clara's lives collided when he released a new song inspired by their fleeting encounter. It was raw and honest, a lamentation that resonated with the heartaches and struggles of everyday people. Media outlets picked up on it, and with every play it was as if George was shouting into the void, "You matter, your struggles are heard." But as the song soared up the charts, both felt its effects ripple through their lives. For George, the recognition felt bittersweet. He was grateful for the successful single, yet he wrestled with the discomfort that it was born out of someone else's pain. He felt inspirations and endeavors merging, blurring the lines between genuine acts of kindness and the commercial nature of fame. For Clara, the once supportive light of the song dimmed with the scrutiny that followed. People were quick to judge, always eager to scrutinize her life, as if her newfound visibility made her fair game. What once was a hopeful connection now felt like an unwelcome spotlight, one that left her exposed and aching for anonymity. It was a rainy Tuesday when Clara reached the breaking point. She sat on the faded couch in her small apartment, the sound of raindrops drumming against the window mirroring the turmoil in her heart. The haunting lyrics of George's song filtered through her thoughts, reminding her of her own battles, bringing forth a mixture of pride and sorrow. Pride for being seen, yet sorrow for the vulnerability that came with it. She picked up her phone and called Maria, her voice cracking as she fought to hold back tears. "I feel like I'm being ripped apart, Maria," she whispered. "The attention is suffocating." Maria listened, her nurturing instincts kicking in as she sought to comfort her sister. "You have to remember, Clara, these moments are just part of your journey. You're strong, you're an inspiration, you can turn this into something powerful." After the call, Clara sat in silence, her heart racing with conflicting emotions. Could she really take control of her narrative? Could she find the courage to reclaim her identity? Beneath her fear lay an ember of hope, a timid flame yearning for her voice to break free from the shadows of self-doubt. And so in the stillness of that rainy afternoon, she began to write again, pouring her heart onto the pages. Each word was an act of defiance against her challenges, a step toward rediscovery, and slowly, the melody of hope began to rise within her once more. Little did she know that George too was awakening roiling emotions and memories from his past, reflections of who he once was and who he longed to be again. Their paths, intertwined by fate, would soon converge in ways neither could have fathomed, leading them both toward a rebirth born of understanding and resilience. Weeks rolled on, and the Texas sky ignited with the colors of dawn, vibrant reds and serene blues intermingling in a mesmerizing embrace. George Strait found himself taking a familiar route back to the small town where he'd first met Clara. The town's roads held memories of simpler times, where music breathed life into every corner. He felt a longing to reconnect, not only with Clara, but with that essence of authenticity that had become increasingly elusive in the rush of his stardom. Driving into town, he sought solace in a small cafe, the kind of place that smelled of fresh coffee and baked goods, evoking warmth and community. As he stepped inside, a few heads turned, whispers cascading across the room. George felt the familiar flutter of discomfort, the sweet burden of being recognized, but today was different. Today he wanted to forge a genuine connection beyond the glimmering lights of his career. He settled into a quiet corner, the air filled with laughter and conversations blending into a comforting backdrop. As he sipped his coffee, he couldn't shake the thought of Clara. In the depths of his heart, he knew that their brief encounter had carved a space in his life, driving him to seek her out again. Minutes felt like hours until the cafe door swung open, and in walked Clara. Droplets of rain clung to her hair, and for a moment the world around them vanished as their eyes locked. A shy yet confident smile broke across her face, illuminating the weariness that had shadowed her since their last encounter. "George," she called softly, her voice uncertain yet filled with curiosity. He motioned for her to join him, heart racing at the sight of her, fear and hesitation contending in her gaze. "Hey, Clara," he replied, warmth radiating from him. "I wanted to check on you. Going through everything, I hope you're holding up okay." Clara took a seat, studying his expression as she weighed her response. "It's been a whirlwind. I didn't expect your song to resonate so deeply with people, and then, well, all this attention. It's a lot. I can only imagine," George said, nodding solemnly. "I wrote that song because of you, you know. It became something more than just music, a way to speak to those who feel lost." Clara's eyes widened at his confession, mixed emotions bubbling within her. "I appreciated hearing it, but it felt like being thrust into a spotlight I wasn't ready for. One minute I'm just trying to survive, and the next, everyone wants to know who I am." "I get it," he admitted, leaning forward. "The fame can create barriers, making it hard to connect with who you really are. I've spent so much time chasing success that I've lost sight of the simple joy in sharing music with others." Clara smiled softly, lights of understanding flickering between them. "I've felt that way too. Sometimes I want to reclaim my voice, not just as a mother, but as Clara." The air thickened with unspoken emotions as they navigated their stories over warm cups. Clara took a deep breath, her heart racing as she offered, "I've been writing again. I think it helps me remember who I am beneath everything." George leaned in, excitement illuminating his features. "Would you want to share your music? I'm heading to a small festival this weekend, a gathering of local artists. It might be the perfect place to find that joy again. Come with me?" Clara's initial hesitation was eclipsed by a spark of excitement. "You really think I could, after everything?" "Yes," he insisted, his voice steady and assured. "This is about reclaiming joy. We can encourage each other to embrace who we are, beyond the noise." Her smile widened, unguarded for the first time. "Okay, that sounds wonderful. It feels like a step towards something more." As their meeting deepened, Clara and George exchanged laughter and dreams, forging a bond that neither had anticipated. It was as if, amidst their personal struggles, they found a connection that transcended the chaos of their lives. Each shared story drew them closer, revealing fragments of their past that mirrored one another. When the time came for them to part, both felt lighter, a weight lifted, replaced by the promise of rediscovery. Clara's heart swelled with possibility, feeling like she was stepping back into her own skin, and George too felt invigorated, finding a sense of purpose in helping someone reclaim their narrative. That rainy afternoon had transformed into a pivotal moment for both of them. As they embraced a newfound courage, the festival awaited them, a symbolic journey toward understanding and rebirth. The flickering flame of hope ignited in Clara, and George would shape the path ahead, leading them on a journey neither of them could have anticipated. The sun rose on the day of the festival, casting a golden glow through the Texas sky, illuminating the path ahead. George could feel the energy buzzing in the air as he drove to the open field, transformed into a celebration of music and community. The gentle breeze fluttered through the trees, and the distant strumming of guitars echoed against the backdrop of laughter and excitement. He wondered how Clara would feel stepping onto the stage again, where music blossomed amidst the warmth of creativity. He arrived ahead of time, excitement bubbling in his chest. The festival grounds were alive with activity, vendors setting up their stalls, children running about, and other artists tuning their instruments. But amidst it all, his thoughts were anchored to Clara and the journey that lay ahead for both of them. He envisioned her stepping into the brightness, her heart open to the possibility of new beginnings. As he set up for his own performance, he scanned the crowd, searching for Clara's familiar face. Finally, he spotted her, hesitantly approaching the entrance. She wore a simple dress, her hair catching the sunlight, and he marveled at how radiant she looked. But he also recognized the uncertainty in her gaze, a reflection of the fears and aspirations stirring beneath the surface. "Hey, you made it!" George greeted her, a wide grin breaking across his face as he approached. Clara returned his smile, though it faltered slightly as she scanned the bustling scene. "I almost didn't," she confided, her breath shaky. "It's so different from what I remember. Just focus on the music," he encouraged, his warmth wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. "You're not alone in this. Everyone here is rooting for you." With each step they took together toward the stage area, Clara's nerves began to settle. George's presence offered her a measure of strength, reassuring her that this was more than just a performance. It was a rediscovery of self. When it was finally Clara's turn to take the stage, the weight of the moment hung thick in the air. George stood at the side, his heart racing with a mix of pride and anxiety. Clara glanced out at the sea of expectant faces, a tide of memories flooding her mind. In her chest, the beat of doubt knotted with the pulse of hope. "Hey everyone," she finally spoke into the microphone, the crowd falling silent to listen. "I'm Clara, and this is my first time performing in a while. I just wanted to say that it feels good to be here." The crowd erupted in encouragement, clapping and cheering her on. George felt his own heart swell, knowing how hard this moment was for her, how courageous it was to reclaim her space among the melodies of life. With a deep breath she began to play, fingers trembling against the strings, but the music poured out, pure and unfettered, reflections of her heart. The melody swept through the air, drawing the audience in as if they were all experiencing the rebirth of each note together. In that moment, Clara transformed. The anxious girl stepping onto the stage dissolved, replaced by a force of nature stronger than she ever believed possible. She sang about struggles and redemption, each lyric woven from the shadows she had faced, allowing the light to pour into the wounds of her past. The music wrapped around her, a dress made of notes that clung lovingly to her spirit. As George watched, he felt tears prick at the corner of his eyes. He could see her releasing the pain, reclaiming her narrative in a way that felt both personal and profound. The audience connected with her vulnerability, a shared experience glimmering in the air as they too found echoes of their own stories reflected in her sound. Clara's final chords resonated through the field, lingering in the hearts of the crowd. The applause thundered, a wave of affection washing over her. She lowered her guitar and took in the scene, the smiling faces, the warmth of acceptance enveloping her like a hug, and George beaming with pride at her side. When she stepped off the stage, a rush of exhilaration swept over her. George caught her hand in his, eyes sparkling with admiration. "How you did it! You were incredible!" he exclaimed, pulling her into a quick embrace. "I can't believe I actually sang," Clara said, breathless with delight, exhilaration blending with relief. "Thank you for believing in me." "You did the hard part," George said, his admiration palpable. "And you're not finished yet. This is just the beginning." The festival continued buzzing with excitement, and Clara felt as if she had just been reborn. Through the festival's laughter and shared stories, she discovered a vibrant tapestry of lives intertwined with her own, a community that mirrored her growth and resilience. With every strum of her guitar, she bonded with the echoes of those around her. Other artists, families, friends, each person illuminating a piece of the world that had felt lost. As the day wore on, Clara and George wandered from booth to booth, enjoying the various performances, art displays, and spirited vendors. Clara filled her soul with the stories of artists who had traveled their own winding roads back to the heart of music. George shared more tales from his own journey, moments of vulnerability intermingling with triumphant celebrations, lessons learned, and the importance of honoring where they came from. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the festival, Clara found herself reflecting upon her journey. The weight of past fears faded, replaced by a sense of purpose and belonging, a spark igniting a new chapter she had been longing to write. In the twilight, George and Clara stood side by side, watching the final act of the day. George felt a wave of gratitude wash over him, knowing that their fateful meeting had evolved into something transformative, an intermingling of souls reclaiming their voices and learning to rise. "Thank you for today," Clara whispered, her heart full of courage. "I never thought I'd find my way back to this." George smiled softly, pride illuminating his features. "You found your way back to yourself. That's what matters." And as the festival lights glimmered like stars against the encroaching night, Clara's laughter rang out freely, a melody that would carry her forward, reminding her that she was never alone in her journey. With the gentle hum of music surrounding them, both George and Clara felt a sense of rebirth guiding them together, along paths yet to be discovered. their lives forever intertwined by the melodies of hope and resilience they had nurtured. As the festival wrapped up and the crowd began to disperse, Clara and George lingered by the stage where she had performed. The adrenaline still coursed through Clara's veins, a reminder of the courage she found within herself. She glanced around at the scattered remnants of the day, empty chairs, fading sounds of music, and the laughter of families beginning to wane. With each moment spent in this vibrant community, she felt a sense of empowerment. But beneath the joy lay a quiet uncertainty, a whisper of doubt that began to echo in her mind. "Hey, what's on your mind?" George asked, catching the shift in her demeanor as they walked away from the fading lights. "It's just—" Clara hesitated, her brow furrowing in thought. "I've tasted this joy today, but I know it won't always be this easy. What if I can't keep it up? What if the pressure comes back?" George considered her words, his own history of highs and lows mingling with hers. "You've faced the storm before, Clara. You found your voice again. Just remember that you don't have to do this alone. We all fall back sometimes, but it doesn't erase the progress you've made." "Right," she replied, biting her lip. "It's just hard to shake off the fear of being judged or inadequately exposed, especially with people watching. I really want to pursue this, but something still feels like it's holding me back." "Fear is a tricky thing," he said thoughtfully. "It can either be a wall or a catalyst. It's how we choose to face it that defines our journey. Here, let me show you something." George led Clara to a secluded area behind the stage, where the sound of music faded into a gentle breeze. He pulled out his guitar, the well-loved instrument worn from years of stories shared through song. Sitting on a low crate, he gestured for Clara to join him. She felt a flutter of anticipation, excitement mingling with apprehension. "Play with me," he invited, strumming a few gentle chords that filled the space around them. The familiar rhythm created a soothing ambiance, washing over Clara like an embrace. "Let's focus on creating, on what we want to say, rather than what anyone else expects." She took a deep breath, allowing the moment to settle in her heart. Sitting beside him, she grabbed her guitar and remembered the strength she uncovered today. "Okay, I can try." Together they created melodies, simple at first, but gradually transforming into something beautiful. The vulnerability within Clara's heart began to seep through her fingers, and soon she joined him in harmony, both following the ebb and flow of their song. "See?" George chuckled, his eyes alight with warmth. "There's no pressure here, just the music between us that matters." "This feels so freeing," Clara admitted, her confidence blossoming even more. "It's like I'm rediscovering a part of myself that's been sleeping." They played until the stars punctured the darkened sky, the music serving as a bridge between their fears and their desires. Each note resonated through the still night, creating echoes of resilience that lingered in the air long after the final chord faded. Yet, as the night deepened, Clara found her mind drifting back to her responsibilities, the weight of being a mother feasting on her time. Spiraling doubt and guilt threatened to overwhelm her. "I can't avoid this forever," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I love writing and performing, but is it selfish to want this for myself when I have my daughter to think about?" George let her words hang in the air, understanding the complexity of her emotions. "You need to be whole for her, Clara. Having a mother who pursues her dreams can inspire her more than anything else. It isn't selfish, it's setting an example. Remember, the journey you create gives your daughter space to understand that it's okay to reach for her own dreams." Clara processed his words, her chest heavy with emotion, but also buoyed by the hope he offered. "You're right. I've been caught up in the fear of taking time away from her, but maybe it's time to also show her my strength. I just want to make sure she's proud." George smiled, seeing her fresh determination flickering in her eyes like a candle in the dark. "She will be. Just as you're trying to find her voice, you need to honor your own. Parenting deeply intertwines with pursuing your passions. A little balance can go a long way." As the first signs of dawn crept into the horizon, Clara felt a seed of transformation, one nourished by George's wisdom and her interactions with the vibrant festival community. Shadows of doubt still loomed, but she could see the beginnings of light cutting through. In the days following the festival, Clara threw herself into writing, weaving the messages of the night into lyrics that pulsed with newfound life. She shared her work with her daughter, Kelsey, inviting her to see the beauty of creating with heart. "Let's make music together," Kelsey suggested one afternoon, her energy infectious as she clapped her hands and swayed. "Can I help you write a song, Mommy?" Clara beamed at her daughter's enthusiasm, a spark lighting her spirit. Absolutely. Let's do it. What do you want to say? With crayons and paper sprawled across the kitchen table, Clara guided Kelsey through the writing process. They crafted playful verses about their day-to-day adventures, the joys, the laughter, and even the struggles. Clara discovered that including Kelsey in her creative journey renewed her purpose, illuminating the path for both of them. See, when we create together, we can be brave, Clara said, her eyes sparkling with joy. It's like our own little adventure. Kelsey grinned, her excitement palpable. Can we show it to everyone? And with that, Clara knew she was onto something special. Invigorated by her daughter's enthusiasm, she began planning a small concert at a local community center, a place where friends and families could come together to celebrate music and unity. When the day finally arrived, Clara stood backstage, heart drumming in her chest. With Kelsey by her side, she felt the weight of expectations creeping in again, but this time there was a tangible sense of support emanating from her daughter. We are so ready for this. Just moments before walking onto the stage, Clara squeezed Kelsey's hand, reminding herself, this is about more than just performing. This is about embracing their shared journey, a renewal of creativity that could uplift both mother and daughter. As they stepped into the light, Clara caught sight of the audience. Friends, family, and familiar faces from the festival all gathered to embrace their spirit. Together, they began to sing, their voices weaving together in a harmony of hope, resilience, and love. And as Clara poured her heart into each song, she realized that through every challenge faced, there lays a deep-rooted strength able to flourish. Fueled by the connection to her daughter and the lessons learned from George, the music surged through her, lifting her higher than she'd ever dreamed possible. In this intimate moment, surrounded by the music they created together, Clara felt her fears begin to dissipate. This wasn't just her story anymore. It was a testament to the power of love and encouragement that resonated through each note, binding them as a family, their voices rising, ignited by the beauty of pursuing dreams together. As the final notes of Clara's song lingered in the air, the audience erupted into applause. Clara's heart soared, a mix of disbelief and elation flooding her senses. It was more than a performance. It was a celebration of her journey and the bond she had forged with Kelsey. They took a bow together, smiles radiant in the stage lights. Clara glanced down at Kelsey, whose joy reflected the pride she felt for what they had just accomplished. The cheers from friends and family enveloped them, bright and uplifting. "Mommy, we did it!" Kelsey squealed, bouncing on her feet, her expression lit with excitement. "Yes, we did," Clara replied, laughter bubbling within her. It felt as if a weight had lifted from her, exposing the beauty of their triumph. As they stepped off the stage, they were instantly surrounded by friends, family, and familiar faces from the festival, all eager to praise their performance. "You were amazing," someone called out. "This mother-daughter duo rocks," echoed another voice. Clara's laughter mingled with their joy. The evening's success made her realize she could balance being a mother while pursuing her passion for music. "Thank you, everyone," Clara beamed as she engaged with the crowd, her heart swelling with gratitude. When George approached, pride radiated from him. "You both were incredible. I knew you had it in you." "Thanks, George. I owe a lot to your support," Clara replied, genuinely appreciating his encouragement. He grinned. "This is only the beginning, right?" Clara nodded, the excitement of the night blooming in her chest. She wanted to harness this momentum, seize the opportunity to embrace her music fully. The days turned into weeks, and Clara focused on writing and performing new songs. She found joy in her creative process, crafting melodies with Kelsey, who eagerly participated. They turned their experiences into music, letting their laughter and little adventures inspire their lyrics. Yet despite the budding success, Clara faced moments of self-doubt. As life settled back into a routine, balancing responsibilities with her passion became increasingly challenging. The weight of expectations crept in like a shadow, whispering fears that she might falter. After a particularly exhausting day, Clara found herself sitting on the porch, strumming her guitar under the stars. Each chord resonated through the quiet night, creating a cathartic release for her worries. It was in this moment of solitude that she reflected on George's words about accepting vulnerability as a strength. The following morning, Clara resolved to reach out to George. "Can we meet? I've been thinking about collaborating on something new," she texted, her heart racing with hope. "Absolutely. Let's create something beautiful together," he quickly replied. Their meeting at a quaint cafe was invigorating. Clara shared her thoughts on how to encompass both her fears and aspirations through music. "Every song we create has meaning," she stated, her enthusiasm shining through. "Exactly. Write for yourself. When we create from a place of honesty, it resonates with everyone," George urged, encouraging her to dig deeper into her own narrative. As they delved into their shared creativity, Clara recognized how their collaboration illuminated the strength of their respective journeys. She invited Kelsey to join, and together, the three formed a dynamic, creative environment, weaving melodies that reflected their lives. Their songs turned into expressions of love and resilience, each note a testament to the bond they shared. Clara discovered an unexpected joy in inviting Kelsey to participate in the creative process. Her daughter's innocent perspective brought freshness to their work, inspiring Clara to embrace her struggles while transforming them into art. But even amidst the uplifting collaboration, Clara continued to wrestle with self-doubt. Balancing her dreams and Kelsey's needs often felt overwhelming. Late at night, she would lay awake, questioning whether she could truly sustain this balance. What if everything unraveled and she fell short? One night, as Clara sat on the porch, she began strumming her guitar, letting the music translate her apprehension into a soothing melody. She recognized that music had always been her refuge, a language that spoke to the depths of her emotions, unearthing fears that needed to be acknowledged rather than ignored. By acknowledging her vulnerabilities, Clara began to comprehend their role in shaping her art and life. With each note, she found strength in her uncertainty, allowing it to guide her instead of hinder her. In the weeks that followed, Clara experienced a shift in her mindset. She embraced the journey surrounding both motherhood and music, letting the two coexist harmoniously. It became clear to her that these were not mutually exclusive. They were part of a connected tapestry of her life. Embracing this newfound acceptance spurred her into action. Clara began planning a larger event, a community concert that would celebrate local artists and the stories that inspired them. She envisioned a space where people could come together, share their challenges, and rise through creativity. Once she articulated the idea to George, his eyes lit up with enthusiasm. "You're building something beautiful, Clara. This concert will inspire so many," he assured her. As Clara threw herself into preparations, she felt an invigorating sense of clarity wash over her. This was no longer just about her journey. It was about uplifting those around her, rallying a community rooted in support and resilience. She began reaching out to local musicians and artists, inviting them to share their talents at the event. Diving deeper into her music, Clara recognized that this concert was a chance to showcase not only her work, but the spirit of collaboration she had fostered in her relationships. With Kelsey by her side, they began writing songs for the event, threading in tales of hope, heartache, and triumph. As she worked on the details, every piece of the puzzle fell into place. Clara prepared for this meaningful moment, understanding it was a reflection of her growth, both as an artist and a mother. Her relationship with Kelsey became her anchor, guiding her through uncertainties. She resolved to celebrate their journey, to stand in front of a crowd and share the melodies binding them together as a family. In doing so, Clara accepted that pursuing dreams alongside the ones she loved was not just possible, it was essential to their collective story. This acceptance further illuminated her path, intertwining her passions with motherhood and crafting a narrative that resonated with authenticity. As Clara began to affirm her place in the world, she understood that she was carving out a legacy of love through music, a melody that would echo long after she sang her last note. The day of the community concert arrived, and Clara stood backstage, the energy in the packed venue buzzing around her. Familiar faces filled the seats, their expressions a tapestry of encouragement and anticipation. This was a moment to celebrate, not just her journey, but the entire community's resilience through music. With Kelsey beside her, Clara took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the crowd. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, bending down to meet her daughter's sparkling eyes. Kelsey nodded, clutching her guitar. "Let's show them what we can do." Clara stepped onto the stage, feeling the lights wash over her. "Hello everyone, thank you for being here today." Her voice, steady yet filled with emotion, echoed through the room. This concert is about all of you, your stories and our shared experiences. As they began their first song, Clara strummed her guitar, and the lyrics resonated through the hall. The audience swayed, caught in the emotion woven with bold threads of hope and unity. After their performance, cheers filled the air, fueling Clara's spirit. "Thank you, this next song is special to us," she continued, glancing at Kelsey. "It's about the pursuit of dreams and the love that drives us forward." They started a heartfelt song, an anthem of perseverance that spoke to everyone present. Each note bridged gaps between past struggles and current triumphs, inviting the audience into their shared journey. Clara felt the support enveloping them, transforming the stage into a sanctuary of shared joy. Throughout the concert, fellow artists joined in, each bringing their stories to the forefront. Clara was moved by the raw honesty in their words, creating a powerful collective narrative that resonated deeply in the hearts of those listening. Between sets, Clara mingled with the audience, sharing laughter and stories. "You brought us all together today," one person said, and Clara felt her heart swell with gratitude. The bonds forged through shared experiences were palpable, stronger than they had ever been. When the evening grew late, Clara and Kelsey took a moment to pause, absorbing the warmth of the crowd. "We'd like to share one last song. It's a reminder that together we can rise above challenges," Clara said, determination shining in her eyes. The atmosphere shifted as anticipation built. Clara and Kelsey launched into a final song, intertwined with their narratives of love and hope. In that moment, Clara poured out her spirit, the struggles, the victories, the connection to everyone gathered. The audience swayed, their hearts intertwined with the melody. As the last note lingered in the air, Clara looked around at the faces illuminated by stage light, feeling a profound sense of unity. They had created something beautiful, a celebration of life through music. As the applause echoed around them, Clara stepped down from the stage into the crowd, surrounded by friends and familiar smiles. They had fostered a sense of community, woven stronger through this celebration of art and love. In that moment, Clara realized her journey was not isolated. It was fundamentally interlinked with the stories of the people around her. Together, they had transformed shared pain into an uplifting melody that would reverberate within their hearts long after the night ended. This event, this connection, would be the legacy they would continue to nurture. A celebration of love and creativity, a reminder that dreams could thrive through unity and support. As Clara embraced Kelsey with love and pride, she knew they had carved out a new chapter, a symphony of hope that would play on in the stories of their community.